committee meeting to order, Monday, August 8th, 2022. Approval of the agenda, please. Councillor Norbury.
As presented.
Seconder, Councillor Lehman. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Adoption of the minutes, Monday, July 25th, 2022. Policies and priority committee meeting minutes. Recommendation, please. Councillor Majinski.
July 25th, 2022, PPC minutes be approved as presented.
Seconder, Councillor Lehman. Any errors or omissions? Staff? Thank you. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. On to reports. 5.1 ministry meetings. Follow up from July 25th meeting. I'll move for discussion. Seconder, Councillor Lehman. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. So we've got a few write-ups here. Just wondering what council thoughts are and if we want to whittle these down to top 3, top 5. Council's thoughts, please. Councillor Kirkhalka.
Thank you, Worship. I think we just gotta wait till we hear back instead of trying to say it's our top 3 or top 5. Once staff hears back, we might be only getting a chance to meet some of them anyways.
So Ms. Torova, have we requested these already then?
No, yeah. I'm just kind of waiting because at the last meeting, council had requested that this be brought back to this meeting to kind of, I don't know, tweak them or and, you know, prioritize the ones that we wanted to see. So I was kind of waiting until we knew for sure what council wanted, and then we would go with requests from there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Follow up?
You know, I think we just request them all, ones that council's asked for. I know I talked to Ms. Orville to have this in front of us so we could make sure we've captured what council's wishes were in regards to discussions with the ministers or staff who we get to meet with, and what our asks are for each minister. So just going there and trying to come up with ask on the whim.
Okay. Councillor Norbury.
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand. Yeah, so I agree with Councillor Kakalka and that one. Like, let's, if we have conflicts, then maybe we can bow out or something. But like, this is our big opportunity to get some face time with ministers. So I think it doesn't hurt to ask for more. With that, you know, staff looking for our input. The first one I'd like to give some input on constructively is the Ministry of Education and Childcare. So our second one there on page 9. Issue 1, the Ministry of Education and Childcare has provided $5 a day increase. Maybe there's some crossing of wires. From what I understand, the government offers a $4 an hour wage top up, and the incentive and the dollars per day daycare is a $10 a day daycare is what they're going for. So there's two separate options there. Yeah, we need assistance on becoming a $10 a day childcare site. And then the wage top up is $4, and I don't think we have an issue there as it's openly accessible to everyone. So I would suggest that when we change to assistance in becoming a $10 a day daycare site. To assist with, no, we'll leave it there.
Okay. On page 4 of 22 of the agenda, in the minutes, it does say the information that Child Care Center provided us was $5 an hour top up per employee. So is that $4 or is it $5? Yeah, they are correct that it's not $5 a day, it's $5 per hour per employee. Councillor Norbury.
In the meetings that I've attended with the Children's Center, they've been mentioning $4. I mean, we can just contact them and find out for sure. But you know, in our meetings it's been $4. So.
Okay, well maybe we just leave out the amount and just add like a top up of wages, and that's what the.
Oh yeah. How long it'll be in effect for? Yeah. Fair.
Does everyone agree?
And
Councillor
and the rest of it I think is on point. Like we're facing issues that we can't raise the fees enough to make up for the wages that is needed. So yeah. So issue 2, I think, is on point. Same with issue 3. You know, just to point out, it's not all bad.
Other comments, questions? Okay,
Moving on to other ones.
sure, Councilor Noble.
So on page 15, the Ministry of Forests. Last meeting, I mentioned that I would reach out to Duncan at the community forest and for him to provide us some information. I believe Ms. Torlo was CC'd, but the issues that are brought to him, he suggested that there may be some movement on these issues, and he will provide us a brief the closer we get to UBCM as the situations do change on our management plan, the wildfire mitigation plan, as well as stumpage rates. They're still moving, they're still liquid, so when it gets closer, he'll provide us with a brief and provide that to staff. He even offered to potentially be in the meeting if we so request. Yeah, that's an option for us. So.
Okay. So for the Ministry of Forests, what is the request for issue 1?
Have to continue low stumpage rates for community forests so that we can still operate. Issue 2, let's see here. Have more community input with our local community forests regarding wildfire mitigation plans. So what we've done, what we believe that should be done. So a little more community involvement there. And then the last one would be pushing forward our management plan. So that's where we've requested more area for our community forest, and that one seems to really be deadlocked. I mean, it may not be able to be moved along because we are still waiting for First Nation support. So we're waiting on a third party, but it's something maybe we can try and see if they can expedite the process for us. That's also kind of what's holding up I wouldn't say that, but it's tangled up in we're waiting on our area by the town's purchase of area by the Saddle Club.
Right.
Because they want to do them separately in sequence versus all at the same time, but it is what it is. It's what it is.
Yeah, and from what I understand from previous conversations, the community forest profitability is going to be seriously in jeopardy if the stumpage rates change to market value as well. So I'm not sure if we should be bringing a background as the stumpage directly affects how much they can give back to the community. It's actually a matter of live or die whether or not the community forest is able to survive with proposed new stumpage rates. I think that should be that point should be brought forward to the minister, because it's not just a matter of giving back to the communities, it's a matter of life and death, basically, profitability.
Yeah, that's fair.
From what I understand. Councillor Majinski.
Thank you, Mayor. I know we do a lot of asks and requests with these ministry meetings. I think we should also give a thank you to Ministry of Forests as well for providing funding for PRMBA, because this is a partnership with Community Forest, with the wildfire management plan, so it all kind of encompasses everything, and saying why this has been a good outcome for our community, because we have a lot of people involved and we're all trying to work collaboratively together. And they actually gave us quite a bit of money, $500,000 for part of that. And now we're working with the Rec Sites and Trails to get this all established. So maybe a thank you to them as well, if there is time within the 15-minute allotment. But if not, I don't think that's absolutely necessary, but it might be worth noting if we only have the 2 requests here for the issues. So.
Yeah, I think that thank you should come at the beginning myself. I think that is a nice way to start introductions, not to put them on the defensive, but to show appreciation for what they've given as well. Any other comments, questions? Councillor Noble?
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand. So page 18, the Ministry of Citizen Services regarding high-speed internet. I had a question, and I don't know if anybody can answer it, but we saw the internet speed map, and it's completely incorrect. Like, do we know who manages that? Who created that? Does that tell us? Can we bring that up to the ministry to say, like, because the reason why I bring that up is we were disqualified for grants because we were touted to having a higher internet speed than what is actually out there. Like, if you're in the houses, you know that the internet speed is not as the map is indicating. So is that ministry driven? Like, is that TELUS driven?
I don't know.
No.
But it's certainly something to bring forward and bring to their attention, definitely. Councillor.
I don't want to sound off, but I think it just goes to show, like, we're giving too much power to the telecoms and setting it all themselves, right? Like, there's that speed map is completely incorrect, and I think we lost out on large grants because it was incorrect. So we'll leave it there.
Possibly. Any other comments? Okay. I would certainly be concerned about all of these meetings happening at UBC. 9 ministries is a lot of extra meetings. Not sure if council wants to prioritize any of these, but Councillor Howe.
Do you know that you're getting all 9 people responding to you though?
No, but usually if the minister's not available, I believe last year we had all staff. We didn't speak with the minister the last 2 years, I believe, so I'm sure they'll be accommodating in any way. If it's not the minister or ADM or DM, it's usually a staffer, so, which isn't a bad thing either. Usually speaking with staff is a little more productive than ministries, but yeah, I'm just, Councillor Howe.
And just a comment on the Ministry of Energy, Mines and Low Carbon Innovation. So see, the request is that the Ministry of Energy, Mines and Low Carbon Innovation create a competitive environment for natural gas services and drive down the price of natural gas. So if we were to go in and ask a minister to do that for us, do you think that they would just go and say, oh, fantastic idea, we never thought about that, let's go get Suncor to bring natural gas into Tumbler Ridge? So how can the minister drive industry? Okay, so that to me, unless you guys had some way of doing this that I don't know about, but would this maybe not be a better thing to say something along the lines of ask them about the rail line in and out of Tumbler Ridge? 40 years ago, we had an electric rail line in Tumbler Ridge, and they took it all out when the mine shut down. And they're trying to come up with creative ways and innovative ways, low carbon innovation, to decrease our carbon footprint. You know, if we got an opportunity to get in front of somebody, would that be that time to say, hey, you know, maybe we should look at putting the electrified rail back in, and then everybody who uses the electrified rail has a lower carbon footprint. Just it's the thought that the concern was years ago was too many diesel cars going through the tunnels. But we don't have that volume of coal coming out of Tumbler Ridge right now. But if the Sekunga project goes, and Quintet reopens, some chance, PRC goes, would we be back into an issue where we couldn't use diesel locomotives anymore? So just maybe that, to me, would be a better use of our time with the ministry. I mean, I don't know if anybody's thinking about that anymore, but I mean, the infrastructure is 3/4 of the way there. It's not like they can't do it. To me, I just think that would probably be a better use of our time with this ministry. We don't have any specific ask for any mine to be reopened. Selenium's always going to be an issue. They don't really care about what we think about selenium, but
You mentioned the infrastructure is already there. Didn't they pull poles and everything?
yeah, no, they did. They brought the poles down, but the bases are still out there, and you know, it's been proven it can be done. You know, there's no grades that you got to worry about. They'd have to get locomotives again to do it, but I mean, 40 years ago, they managed to make it happen in less than 3 years. So, you know, is that something that we should, you know, throw the idea out at them anyways?
From what I understand, BC government isn't interested in the rail business anymore. There was discussion over the last couple of years about trying to promote rail service and whether or not the provincial government would invest in rail again. And I've been told that since the BC Rail sale, BC government is basically out of the rail business. It's private infrastructure that needs to be built, excuse me, and CN would operate on that line for that private entity. So as far as I understand, like even going through the rail analysis with the coalition, BC government wants nothing to do with investing in rail. So I would assume that putting in the electrified line again would be a pretty large capital cost. I'm not sure if there's enough of a revenue stream coming out of this area at this point to justify that kind of cost, but it's certainly something to talk about. I'm not sure exactly what the ministry can do as far as PNG's monopoly in this area. It's certainly an opportunity to make them aware of it, but I don't know what they can do in that sense. Not really sure about this one at all. Councillor Norbury.
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand. Well, I mean, this is an opportunity to talk about BCUC, right? And this is where PNG and natural gas falls under their purview. Am I incorrect? Am I correct in that assumption? This is we know we have exorbitant natural gas prices in Tumbler Ridge. BCUC isn't doing anything about it. Let's go around them. Let's go talk to it. Anything like everyone. I think this is at least an opportunity to try and generate something, right? And a lot of times these ministry meetings, if they continually hear something, then sometimes it generates a movement on an issue. And if we don't bring it up now, then maybe they just won't know that there's an issue. Like, we're not happy with natural gas delivery in our area.
Absolutely. I think it's more of an issue to deal with PNG than it would be the ministry, though. You know, PNG is operating an isolated system around Tumbler Ridge, but overall in the northeast they have delivery in Dawson Creek, Fort St. John, all in the area. From what I understood from meeting with PNG was we just don't have enough usage in our area to bring our cost down. You know, they said if a new mine was to open up and use natural gas, that increase of the usage would be able to bring our deliveries down in town here. But because we don't have the industry usage at this point, that's why our costs are so much higher. Now, there was suggestion by PNG to amalgamate the whole northeast so that Tumbler Ridge isn't just an isolated system, so that we could amalgamate throughout the northeast, which would decrease our costs but increase the city's costs, Dawson Creek and Fort St. John. But as far as I understand, it's really just an isolated system that isn't being used enough to bring our costs down. So that's, yeah. I'm not sure what the ministry would be able to do with that, because PNG is operating at a cost plus basis. They're guaranteed a profit, whatever it costs to deliver. So, Councillor Norwood.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Bertrand. You know, I'm aware of all that, and they're 20%, from what I understand, is what they're allowed. I'm saying break it up. You know, allowing only one operator is just not like this is the problem of the system. Yeah, I understand what you're saying, and I'm aware of it. I've read all the PNG stuff myself. We're just explaining why the system's here, how it currently exists. I'm saying we need to change the system, and I believe we need to go to the top to talk about it, because our petitions haven't worked. Well, we're still waiting for intervenor status. It's been 9 months, a year in the process. Gotta try something different. Is my thoughts, right? Yeah, as futile as it may seem, at least we can say we got in front of a minister. Give it a try, right? Same thing with the rail discussions. Chances are it might not happen, but we don't have anything else to talk about. We got 15 minutes. Let's talk about something.
Councillor Kirkhalka.
Thank you, Your Worship. There was one thing discussed that night, and it was eventually to reach out to Canadian Coal, Peace River Coal, and TAC to make sure there was nothing that we could bring up for them on their behalfs with support from this council. So we should probably maybe get in reach with those mines to see if they're having concerns or need some help something while we are meeting other with staff and the minister, that we can put a bug in their ear again, whether it's for Kanema, for the Henry, or for Mount Henry project, or something for Tech, or something for Anglo. We should definitely have their ears to make sure there's nothing that they need from us.
I agree. Councillor Lehman?
Thank you, Mayor. So just getting back to PNG saying that there isn't enough usage in Tumblr, but yet when Ted was thinking about opening in 13, they were going to bring in portable units because there wasn't enough gas. And they tried the same malarkey in Prince Rupert when they said, oh, you're not using enough. But it doesn't, the amount that you use has absolutely nothing to do with the cost, from what Rupert found out, because they were a little bit miffed, so they went after their supplier, and it's a bad excuse to use, and it's not valid that you're not using enough. It has no merit. And I mean, they can say it all they want, but you're pumping gas, how much you do, I don't think is gonna make that much difference. And they couldn't supply Tech when they were wanting to use, if they were going to use natural gas. So obviously there isn't that much in the lines.
Okay. Any other comments in regards to any other ministries? I was thinking for page 11, Ministry of Tourism, Art, Culture and Sport. I'm thinking the promotional video should possibly be at the beginning to kind of set the stage where we're at. Thoughts? Councillor Norbury?
Yeah, last time we did it, they seemed really impressed. They liked it.
Ms. Torval, how are we making out on the promotional video?
We're going to have something. We will have something.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry.
Ms. Torval,
Sorry. Ms. Finnegan would like to.
please.
Yeah,
Sorry.
so just a question to council. I haven't prepared a video like that before. What sort of length of video is optimum? You said it was well received before, councillor. Was it a minute, 2 minutes? Was it displayed on a laptop? Can we plug it into a screen?
Yeah, it was displayed on a tablet. I'm trying to remember, a couple, 3 minutes, I think. Councillor Norbury?
I was thinking it was like a minute and a half. That was pretty short.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't need to be overly long because we do need time to discuss as well, so, yeah, between a minute and 3 would probably be plenty.
Thank you.
I'm just wondering about the mention of Grizzfest with the ministry. I do understand the need for assistance, but I'm not sure if the ministry is going to receive this very well, given that the TR Day Society is building the festival grounds on behalf of the district. Yeah, I'm not sure about this one. Councillor Howell?
Yeah, I agree. I don't think that's in their wheelhouse to worry about a weekend party in Tumbler Ridge. I think the elephant in the room for me is the $1 billion museum they were going to put in Victoria that they decided not to. And we're certainly not asking for $1 billion in Tumbler Ridge. It'd be great if they give it to us, but if we could get some funding of it, just to say, if you could relieve a little bit of the stress on the community for some operational funding. We're not asking you to build us an entire new museum. We're done. We've got it. We'd just like to maybe be able to update a few things, and for a little bit of operational funding, maybe that would be the time to say, we used to get $200,000 from the PRRD. We no longer get that. If we could get $200,000 from the government for a 10-year contract for $2 million, it's a drop in the bucket compared to $1 billion. And I think that might be, there was something like 36% of the residents of of British Columbia were in favor of putting in a $1 billion museum in Victoria. So how hard of a sell would it be to be like, listen, we've been established, we've been here for 20 years, we need help. You remember hearing all the issues we had with the museum previously. We're housing your artifacts that belong to the province that we can't sell to make money. So is there any chance we could get some operational funding? I don't want to expand the building or do anything more, make anything better. Just give us some money to take the load off of the residents of Tumbler Ridge.
And make it sustainable. That's really what I mentioned last night at the dinner too, is sustainability is really what we need to focus on. Like we are established, there is an incredible collection there. We're working on the repository, but you're right, we need help. We need provincial help to take care of these fossils properly. Take care of their fossils properly. There's many more projects on the go. Councillor Howe.
And maybe that's the angle we go at them with, is to say, like, listen, like, if you don't want to support our museum, can you support your own repository that we're doing the work for you and heating the building for you and putting the lights in for you and making sure the humidity is right and making sure all these rocks don't break apart or whatever. Like, maybe that's the angle we need to go at them with, and just say, like, you know, we don't want, we want a 10-year funding program or something so that the museum knows we've got this guaranteed amount coming in, we're good to go with that amount, right? So, and I don't mean to increase it $200,000, I mean to take some load off the residents of Tumbler Ridge. I think our residents are putting in $400,000 this year, right? 450 some odd thousand into the museum, double the amount in previous years.
Into both, yeah. Other comments? Yeah, I agree, Councillor Howe. I think it's really time to, given the quick turnaround from the museum project reversal, I guess. And, you know, we certainly put up a lot of media in that regard. And it wasn't a matter of, you know, the money should come here. It's a matter of what about all of the other museums across the province that are struggling to keep the doors open. So I think it's perfect timing for that. Councillor Majinski.
Thank you, Mayor. So maybe with our promotional video, we should target the museum and the geopark and not more of the outdoor action sports and stuff like that. Maybe have it more honed in on what we're asking for here. So kind of have it all encompassing as we really need help with our museum. So maybe we have a promotional video of the interior, and you know, there is some of that footage out there, but maybe have something updated and show what we have, and maybe some of the workers in the back and working and the environment they work in, because the ministries wouldn't know what kind of lighting they have in there and what kind of HVAC system is in there and what kind of tools and air compressors and all that. And maybe it'll open their eyes, because they're going to put down $1 million or $1 billion down in Victoria. Guarantee they're going to have the state-of-the-art equipment, where up here we're kind of left to our own demise and having to scramble and get what we need. So maybe we can just do that.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Any other comments? Councillor Howe?
So is the plan to update these briefing notes now, or are we just giving this information to staff to allow them to update the briefing notes?
I believe so, Ms. Torval.
Thank you, Council. Yes, these briefing notes will be updated, and as well I'll be submitting to the ministries starting tomorrow for the meeting requests. So the sooner we get them in, the better. The deadline is August 23rd.
23rd.
Yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Howe.
So you're just kind of going by a flavor of council here? You're not looking for votes or motions or anything like that?
No, just pretty much just a flavor of council. And again, the briefing notes, of course, when you're there speaking, you kind of add to it anyway, so it's kind of like the framework or an outline, more or less. So.
Okay. Any other comments, questions? Any of the other ministries? Councillor Lehman?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm keeping Dick's health. I don't think it's ever a bad idea to have a functional review and also issue 2 medical staff and doctors without a proper certification or credential. Because I think they're starting to work on it, but there are a lot of people or a lot of potential people that could work in the medical field, but they're not allowed to work for one reason or another. And I think they need to maybe streamline that a little bit or have a quicker process so that, because the shortage is only going to get worse because you're having more and more people retire and leave the medical profession. So you're not going to be able to fill that with new recruits because they're not fast enough.
Councillor Howe?
The only problem that I have with this is like the ministry to perform a review of Northern Health, a functional review, and create ways for doctors to come in from other provinces and out of, they know this. Tumbler Ridge is not bringing this to their attention. They know there's a problem with Northern Health. They know they can't get, they are working on these things. To me, I would rather go into that meeting with something unique for our community and tell them where we are. We're willing to put our money where our mouth is and go in and say, we want to top up nurses' wages and doctors' wages. That's how bad it is in Tumbler Ridge. That's how poor of a job that you're doing in Tumbler Ridge with our medical services, that we have had numerous talks around the council meeting table here and have put the money forward. When we give them apartments, we give them incentives, and we are to the point where we're so frustrated that that's what we're going to do. That do you have any issue or do you have any problem with us topping up wages? Because Northern Health has said that they have an issue with us topping up wages and that there's some privacy issues or whatever. But I'm still not convinced that we can't do it. And you know, to me, I would rather get in front of them and say that's how bad it is up here. And I don't think Tumbler Ridge is in its own spot here. Everybody in Northern Health is having a hard go, but our community is in the spot that we're willing to put our money into. We're not asking for you guys to put more money into it and update Northern Health. We can see it's not working, so we want to put public money into it so we have better nursing and doctors in town. And to have that type of a conversation, yeah, it's confrontational, it's in your face and whatever, but I'd like to hear it from them why we can't offer a little bit more money in Tumbler Ridge to try to attract doctors and nurses here. Why can't we? What's the issue for them? It's unique rather than please fix the problem.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I think both of these issues are well known to the ministry, and I'm trying to avoid a response letter that really is just fluff. I mean, we've seen those over the last 3 years. All of our response letters is, thank you for your time.
Yes.
We'll look into it, or something in that regard, right? And you know, to bring these two items to attention at UBCM, that's what we're going to get. You know, the coalition has sent a letter with 22, I believe, supporting letters of support for this functional review of Northern Health without a response yet. The regional district has asked the province for audit of Northern Health, been denied. So it's not, I don't agree with this request of the functional review because it's already been asked. And it's nothing new that the ministry, I completely agree with you. So I think we need to rethink this one completely. Councillor Norbury?
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand. So with the medical staff and doctors without a province credentials, this is also out of country credentials, right? Like, I was speaking with Mayor Bumstead about this a couple weeks ago, a month ago. I think I sent an email out to everybody saying that they've started the process. But has anybody actually heard about this before? Like, this was relatively new, like within the last month, that this has actually been raised, that they're, I'll use Dawson Creek as an example. There's 29 healthcare professionals in Dawson Creek that cannot work at Northern Health because the process for translating their credentials is slow, old, not there. I think it's absolutely worthwhile because we do have a lot of out-of-country, not just out-of-province professionals that we can get into the system, and we need to expedite that process. I mean, if this has been a long-going issue that I'm unaware of, then fair enough. But I think it's relatively new.
I do understand what you're saying, but we haven't canvassed Tumbler Ridge. We don't know how many are in. going to the ministry to talk about Tumbler Ridge. We're not gonna, in my opinion, I don't think it's valid to say there's 29 in Dawson Creek. What are you gonna do for us? We don't know how many are in Tumbler Ridge. We have no idea. If there is multiple, then there's a case to be made there. But if we just are going in with Dawson Creek stats, I don't think it's gonna be very effective. Councilor Mulder?
But I mean, isn't like Dawson Creek our primary care hub, right? Like that's where we're getting not all of, but a lot of our medical care is Dawson Creek. So our residences, our town's health is based on Dawson Creek's ability to help us, correct?
Sure.
I think that's fair.
It would be the closest, but I do believe they're making Fort St. John as the regional hub, I believe, as far as ICU and that sort of thing. MRIs, I believe. Thoughts? Are there topics or issues there? Or do we drop Ministry of Health? Councillor Majinski.
No, I agree with Councillor Howe. We brought up the issue. We were willing to put the money forward ourselves as a community. I'd like to see the response from the province and what they have to say about that. We've had that discussion with Northern Health and they said no. Is that coming from Northern Health alone making that decision, or is it from the province strictly to do that? So I'd like to find out why and the reasoning and what are the alternates, because a lot of these healthcare workers are working in Alberta because they get paid more and they'd rather work there. And it may not be the quality of life or their work-life balance, is because they get paid more. So why cannot we do the same and have a higher hourly rate here? Not just rely on these temps that come in, because they get paid a higher rate and that's why they do it.
I don't know about that. I'm not sure their rates, to be honest. Councillor Norbury.
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand. Are we concerned at all about bringing up the fact we're willing to pony up money to Northern Health for our healthcare professionals? Is there any concern? Like I might be a little concerned that they might start saying, "Oh, great, we'll start adding on a service charge to municipalities." Good job, Tumbler Ridge, getting that going for us. Like, I mean, maybe I'm making a mountain out of a molehill, right? But maybe that's the direction they'll go in. Oh, by the way, we get X allotment, and now municipalities, you're going to pony up 10%, whatever percent, and instead of becoming this special thing that we can do, that maybe we can kind of try and manage under the radar. Now it's common practice. That'd be my only concern. What's your guys' thoughts?
It's certainly a common topic at the regional district, is the downloading of services from the province to municipalities or regional districts, and they certainly feel the crunch in that regard. So yeah, I certainly wouldn't want to give them an opportunity to increase that. Councillor Kirkcalkin.
Yeah, and I think we do. I think we go in and we talk about what we've already done. Full access passes and all that. And my understanding is we have not been told we cannot top up their wages. We found a way around it. My understanding in the last, I don't know what it was it a close? We brought forward a healthcare package. It's in there. We just haven't had any movement on that. I think we just need to have staff bring that back forward. There was talk about calling them ambassadors of Tumbler Ridge, and there's a fee set to that. That there was a way around that, and it was actually supported by Northern Health. I have the paperwork, I believe at home still from that meeting, but staff should also have that, and it's right in there. There was some discussion around council. I think there was, I don't know if we came up with the amount and all that stuff, but I think that needs to come back forward. I don't think Northern Health needs us to do it. We just couldn't do it directly to them.
Because of the union.
They are a union employee. Doesn't mean that we shouldn't be saying that to the government what we're doing here and what we're willing to do. I mean, at this point there with Councillor Howe's idea, we are fully staffed in all our nursing is fully staffed. We have a new doctor coming on board. Now it's been October, I believe is the push date. It was July, then September, now it's October. X-ray and lab, we haven't been on diversion. I think what we've done as a community council and staff is showing that we have medical field people here throughout the whole summer so far. We have yet to be on a diversion compared to previous years, and I think that's how we have agency nurses. Councilor Majinski, a lot of these nurses nowadays are like an agency part because they can travel around and see different parts of the country. So we have a lady that comes up. This is her 5th stint in Tumbler Ridge. I just met her again on last Tuesday. She's coming here because of the passes. She has yet to see a pass in any other community that she's lived or worked in, right? So there's a huge incentive, right, that we've come up with to me really at no cost. You know, more people using the golf course, more people using the swimming pool that we have to heat. You know, so that's definitely helped us. But I think we need to bring back that package that we were given, and there's a lot of information I care. We should have staff bring that back forward. There's lots of discussion there.
I agree. Yeah, I think, you know, the topic really should be, what are you doing for attraction and retention in the north? Because, and then highlight the fact of all the incentives that we're doing and the success that we're having with them. I think would be helpful information as well. Councillor Lehman?
Thank you, Mayor. I share some of the concerns that Councillor Norbury brought up, because we've helped Northern Health, and it gets to the point where you give them a little bit and then they keep asking for more and more. And I think it could be the same thing with the provincial government. They're happy that, you know, we're ponying up money to pay for these nurses and medical professionals. So why would we do it if you guys are willing to do it? And I mean, I don't regret doing it, but I also don't want them taking advantage of that fact that we are doing it, because it ultimately is their responsibility, not ours. So that's something that they should be made aware of. I think they are, but
Councillor Majinski, then how?
Thank you, Mayor. So are we gonna bring the incentive package to the ministry meeting and say this is what we've done? And if we are, the only concern I have is when we have agency nurses coming here, we're not having those people move to this community. They're just here temporarily. And the whole idea was to attract and retain. And with agency nurses, we're not seeing that. They're just coming in for a stint, and they're not setting up shop here. They're not, you know, utilizing everything for full potential year round. It's only for temporary 5 weeks at a time. So.
Yeah, but we're not hiring nurses though. We're setting the field, we're setting the stage. It's really Northern Health's decision to use agency nurses, and it's their responsibility to hire these people too. So, you know, we're certainly setting the stage and helping them in every way possible to attract people to come and work in Tumbler Ridge, but don't necessarily directly hire. Councillor Howe?
Yeah, I just wanted to respond to what Councillor Lehman was saying, but we're not actually giving them money yet, right? We're giving in incentives with like, and I'm not interested in going to the ministry and asking for a pat on the back to tell them how great we are and what we've done and what we think we've done to help alleviate the problem. I'm looking for the next thing, right? Once anybody else catches on to this and maybe this doesn't work in a year's time, what is the next thing we can do? We want to offer money. We want to offer, and because it's not here for them. Why would you come here to Tumbler Ridge when you could go to Dawson or Fort St. John, where there's more amenities, there's more people, there's more things? How do we incentivize to get somebody to come here for any job? You know, you got to pay more. Pay more money, and then someone make the decision. It's not worth my time to live in a town that has a Walmart and a Canadian Tire. I'd rather go to Tumbler Ridge because I get paid more money, right? I can get the travel allowance or whatnot. That to me is what we need to be asking for, is what's the next thing we can do? And I know there's concern around this table about, you know, if you open the door up that they go, oh, well, that's great, you just pay them more money. Well, if it works, right? You know, I'm not saying that they will be able to decrease the amount of money that Tumbler Ridge or that we have to pay in, but if it works and we're able to bump up the wages to get doctors and nurses in our community, I have no problem with that. We're losing people in our community because of it right now. Talked to 2 residents in Tumbler Ridge the other day. They don't even do the doctors in Tumbler Ridge anymore. They go to Dawson Creek. They couldn't get in. They could do their blood work in town, and then everything else is done through a clinic called Elgin Medical Center in Dawson. And they told me that Elgin has nothing to do with Northern Health, and that's why they're going there. Now, I don't know how that's possible. I thought everything had to be Northern Health. I thought we were all under the same banner. But if there's a possibility that there's a clinic in Dawson Creek that isn't through Northern Health, can we do the same thing in Tumbler Ridge? And how do we do that? You know, like, I'm looking for the ideas to keep us on the cutting edge, not to go in and tell the government this is what we've done and it's worked a little bit for us, so maybe everybody else should do this too, because it's not going to work anymore if you do that. We need the next thing. And to me, I think that is trying to come up with some way to either provide housing for the doctors and nurses or wages. Wages is a lot easier than providing housing for, similar to what we do with the RCMP.
I believe one of our biggest attractions is quality of life here, to be honest. It's, you know, you can certainly have that balance with the outdoors, and it's the quality of life that I think brings people to Tumbler Ridge. I'm not 100% sold on the top up money aspect, but I think quality of life certainly is a major factor for people these days. Councillor Kirkcaldy.
Yeah, thank you, Richard. Yeah, and I agree. I think we have an amazing backcountry and amazing community. Why we want to be here, live here. Just to get some clarity back to Councilor Majinski, we actually have agency nurses that have come off agency and have moved to our community. We have a recent family that just moved to this community, a husband and children, and she was an agency nurse. So they come around and they check it out. And the thing with the agency nurses, what we're seeing now, is they're actually signing on with Northern Health to have a continuous time in Tumbler Ridge. So they might come here for a 3-week stint, leave for 4 or 5 weeks, come back for another 2 weeks. So they're actually being scheduled like that. So they actually know that they can count on that certain agency nurse which months, because that's how much they like our community. The reason to me, like when I talk to this the young nurse, is most of them go into the agency nursing now because they can go and do their fillers and see where they actually want to put their roots in. And to me, we did capture an agency nurse that moved here with her family, and I think that's a great thing. You know,
That's a win.
that's a win. Like, it's 100% win. So bought a house and everything else, and you know, so I think we see that. We see a new doctor coming. They're moving here. We've tried to reach out to another nurse. We all went for supper and took them around our community and stuff like that. And there were just some glitches there in regards. One was childcare. And then the other one was her husband still had some time to be put in practice that he's in today. So.
Councillor Majinski.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, and this has all started recently too. So we were on diversion quite a bit prior to this. They've implemented this whole new structure. So saying that this is now changed and why people are coming here is, yeah, valid, but in the past it wasn't, because their structure and their system did not work. We were always going on diversion. We didn't have staff. We couldn't recruit staff. It was a shortage everywhere. But now they're trying to change things around and bring in these agency nurses in stints, and now they're trying to get in these schedules where they can come in, but that wasn't the case before. And that's why we decided to come up with these incentives and do these wage top-ups and everything else, because we were behind the 8 ball. We weren't even able to get people in that we needed. So this is a lot of Northern Health doing a lot of this too, and changing their schedules. You know, it's not just because of our incentives, but and wage top-ups that has changed. So,
Councillor Kirkcaldy.
Yeah, I think, you know, honestly, the next time I hand out passes at the clinic, you should participate and come with us. Honest to God, I think staff can answer this question as well. We'll get an email. If a nurse is landing here on August 1st, staff gets an email a week before to have passes ready. The staff turnaround on passes is within a day to 2 days at the most. Doing a great job, thanks for that. And they're either delivered to my desk here, or staff does make it that it ends up in my hands. But when you go over to the clinic to hand out the passes, they're ecstatic. They're waiting for them. They're waiting for them. That's why these people are actually coming here. I'm really sorry, Councilman Majinski, that's why they're coming here. Go in and talk to some of them. Talk to the nurses. I understand that you know, you got to reach out to communicate, but if you get hold of, if you want to go in, I can set you up, because Andrew is out on holidays right now. There's another lady taking over. That is one of the reasons some of these ladies are coming up here, and gentlemen, is because of what this community is doing in regards to passes, the way they're being treated. You know, hearing about what we did when we took the possible nurse out, and some of them were able to join. When we had the medical students here and took them out for dinner, that facility heard all about that and the support that this council and this community is doing. So staff, us as council, but also the residents of the community are supporting it. They're the ones paying the tax dollars to do it. So I think that's a huge help that what we've done. Has Northern Health changed on, oh yeah, they're willing to do this? I think they were always willing to do it. I mean, maybe they just changed it in the last little bit. That's okay. I mean, I don't want to put it down here, but I mean, I'm sorry, when you reach out and you watch Chetwynd going on diversion on a weekly basis, right? They actually have live in there or stay overnight. They're not a treat and diagnose, treat and release, or treat and transport, and they have to go on diversion. We're not. You know, there's a big difference there. I think what we have done as council and what staff has done is made a huge difference in this community by making sure we have nurses, lab, x-ray, and doctors. And I think we got to keep up on it. I mean, it's, you know, whether it's a wage top up, a bonus thing, or whatever. But I think that's, you know, we got to be different. We got to be on the edge. Other communities are offering up housing. Like Chetwynd has, obviously we do apartments. Chetwynd has housing. I believe Council Norbury can speak to it, but they're doing housing and going to be doing housing in Dawson Creek. Sure, Northern Health's going to be renting those. Ours is free. So, you know, we give some of that, but again, we have not been on diversion. And I think that's really important, not only when we have the Empress Challenge in our community, all the backcountry hiking, mountain biking, all that. I think it's very important that we do not go on diversion.
Councillor Majinski.
And in no point did I say that this was not a good thing. It's like, if we're going to bring this to the ministry, what are we going to prove by doing this? And not one time did I explain to myself in here that this wasn't a bad thing that we're doing, but when does it end? Do we start giving wage top-ups using the community's tax dollars to do this? When is the ministry, the province, going to come in and say, okay, hey, good job, we don't need to do that anymore? Like, when do we stop? You know, or is this always going to be the continuation? And then when there's a new council in here, they're going to stop it? Like, so I just want to know, what are we going to go to the ministry for here? Like, I understand where we're going with and why we did this, and I was all in favor of it. And yes, I understand that we do all these things for the residents. We do it for the people that are coming here, for the agency nurses, whoever, and permanent staff. But what is the whole purpose of us going to the ministry meetings and showing these incentives? And are we going to do a wage top up? How are we going to beat out all the other communities in the piece?
The only incentive we're offering at the moment is facility passes, so it's not like we can take a list of anything to the ministry.
Housing.
Yeah, I mean, there's an available condo, yes, but it's, you're right, Councillor, what are we requesting? That's the question here. In my opinion, I think we need to ask them what they're doing for attraction and retention. It'd be nice to know what they're doing, because we certainly know what we're trying to do, but that information hasn't been presented yet from the ministry. Thoughts? Councillor Howe?
Yeah, again, I just think that we should ask them about us wanting to put funds into attracting doctors and nurses in the community, like a weekly bonus or a monthly bonus for somebody who comes here, and if they have any issues with it, and if we can do it, basically.
That's listed here as issue 3. Tumblr has used local finances to support medical staff coming to work in the community as provincial help has been denied. A little bit of background, but no request yet. So, so the request would be
just to ask if there's any issue with us doing it. Not to say that it's going to happen, but you know, it felt like to me through Northern Health, it was, yes, we came up with an idea that may work, but it wasn't through Northern Health. There was privacy issues there. There was something along, we can't tell you who was here and how long they were working for and whatnot. So our idea of a weekly bonus or monthly or yearly or something wasn't able to work out through Northern Health. But is there a way that we can incentivize through a monetary gain for doctors and nurses to come to our community?
okay. Councillor Norbury?
Can we add on to that if they have any other suggestions?
Yeah.
How we can improve, right? Like, as I think we're saying, like, you know, maybe they've heard this all before. Well, maybe they've heard of some things that have worked, or some things they haven't. Maybe they have some ideas. I assume they want us to help ourselves. So if they have anything, You know, if we're willing to show that we're willing to go above and beyond, maybe they have an idea for us. Sure, let's give it a try.
Okay. So the first issue for Ministry of Health, the request of a functional review, my opinion, I don't think is justified or valid. So do we want to keep this issue and just change the request, or do we want to drop this issue? Councillor Majinski.
Thank you, Mayor. Apparently, we don't have a shortage in currently, and we haven't been on diversion all summer, so I don't think we should have issue number 1 on there.
Councillor Howell.
I don't think we do a functional review. It's being taken care of at a different level, and they're dragging their feet on doing it anyways. You know, if Fort St. John and Dawson Creek can't get them to do a review, or Prince George, how are we going to get them to do it? I don't think adding our voice to that's going to add anything. I think it needs to be specific for our community and what we want. So I would be in favor of dropping that.
Any other comments? So issue 2. Certainly an emerging issue that I think the ministry is aware of. But it certainly wouldn't hurt to bring it to their attention as well, but it would be nice to have some Tumbler Ridge statistics to go along with this. Yeah, possible sign up or survey online. Councillor Howell?
So I do remember that we did have somebody in the clinic when I was on the health task force there that I can't remember where she was from. I want to say she was from India, and she was a nurse or something over in India, and all she was allowed to be able to do was draw blood because her credentials didn't line up. So that to me is not for us to decide or tell them to fix or whatnot. If the credentials aren't good enough, do we want that level of care in our community? So to, do you know what I mean? Like let the BC government figure that out, who's qualified to work here. But at the end of the day, once you figure out and you got this pool who's qualified, how do we get them here and how do we keep them here?
Yeah,
And that to me is why I don't think that this is really a Tumbler Ridge topic to bring up. It's important, and it's that they're on it, but I feel that they are, that they're working through it. And we are not the ones that's going to make them turn the light on and be like, oh yeah, geez, great idea, guys, we're going to do that for you, right? Like,
yeah, no, I completely agree. I don't think this is Tumbler Ridge specific at all. Yeah, and it's really a matter for the province to work out to increase that capacity. So are we dropping issue 2 then? Councillor Norbury?
I still think we should talk about it. We have 15 minutes, so we're gonna say I'm sorry. Let me calm down. I realize I'm getting a little, worked up. I apologize. So we have 15 minutes. We can talk about more than one issue here.
But they need to be relevant issues to Tumbler Ridge, I believe.
I think this is relevant in terms of nursing shortage as a whole,
As a region.
as a province. We have one opportunity a year to talk to ministries, bring up issues that are relevant to our communities. This is relevant to our community. Maybe we do have some, we might not have statistics, but we can still keep banging the drum, saying, hey, build a process, create a process to allow for this to start going, because you have professionals in your community, in your communities. Even if we just get 2, we got 2 nurses from our community into the nursing system. We don't want to allow unqualified professionals, but if they could say, oh, we already have this process in place, fair enough. How can we direct them to it? Perfect example, Mr. Wall's wife was a nurse. She wasn't able to work in the nursing center. Maybe if we knew of the process to get them credentialed, I don't know if she was interested in it, but that's a perfect example of someone that's under the radar that could have potentially worked when we did have a shortage. So I understand that it may not have statistics. Still a relevant topic. You have 15 minutes. Why not talk about it?
Councillor Howell?
So if we got in front of them, who's going to talk about this to the minister.
Deputy Kirkowka.
So are we well versed in the provincial credentials for people coming out of province or out of country to be able to talk to the Ministry of Health about this? Are we that educated on it that we're able to? Is this an assumption that we're making that people from out of province can't easily get into British Columbia? Do you know what I'm getting at?
I see what you're saying, yeah.
Norbury, like, how are we going to have a productive conversation with them when we don't really even know what we're talking about on this? I don't know what I'm talking about on out of province doctors or out of country doctors or nurses or whatnot. If there's a problem in the system, they should know how to fix it. They should be the ones dealing with it. Us to bring it forward that it may be an issue, prove it. Explain to me how that you know that is an issue. I don't feel that, I wouldn't be comfortable bringing that point up. Maybe Councillor Kirkowka is, or maybe you are, Councillor Nora. I don't feel I have any knowledge on that it's even a thing that's happening.
Councillor Kirkowka.
Yeah, it's happened before too, and that came down when there was a doctor shortage, province-wide, probably Canada-wide, still is somewhat of an issue. But it was opening up doctors not coming from South Africa. So there was letters of support from council and everything else in regards to Dr. Helm, try and get that request for them to look at opening up more doors, more people being allowed to come in from South Africa. Obviously, still had to take the exam of British Columbia and stuff like that. That's how that happened, and we were able to get some positions in the province of BC, not just in Tumbler Ridge, but within the Peace region. So it's the same concept that counts to me, as Councillor Norbury is talking about, is people that are living within the region. I mean, maybe there are some people in Tumbler Ridge, I haven't heard myself. But I think, he's kind of right when he says, we are looking, to me, maybe we're supporting Dawson Creek on it, but to me, we're supporting Tumbler Ridge too, because, those people can work in Dawson if they help them get through the red tape and find the system, or let's direct them in the right system. Those people could be coming to Tumbler Ridge to backfill it. Maybe there's mental health people out there, but maybe there's massage therapists out there, all that, we don't know. So I think that could help our community, because we're short on some of those positions.
Certainly, it would certainly help the overall capacity of the system in the Northeast. I completely agree.
I think we're just looking from their side to give us the proper information and how's this going to work, and what steps have you guys taken, and where can we direct people to go?
Exactly.
If it does come up in town, we know where to direct them, whether it's our task force or Councillor Norbury's task force. We know which way to direct people. I don't think it's a bad thing.
Okay. Councillor Norbury.
So with your concerns, Mayor Bertrand, I'll reach out to Mayor Bumstead and figure out how they found the 29 people in Dawson Creek who were credentialed out of country. Maybe we can replicate it here. I don't know what it was. Survey. Might get like two people respond. How can we? I'll reach out to him and figure out how they did it, and I think there's food involved. They just put out a call and said, "Hey, come out to a luncheon," and Mayor Bumstead himself invited people. You'd be surprised how far people will go for a free lunch, right? Like I ran a 20-kilometer race for a hamburger. So.
That's true. On that topic. Any other comments in regards to any of the other ministries? Councillor Hall.
Just the one on childcare there, I see it's kind of noted there. I just want to know, are we going to ask the question if we can get outside of the 5% increase? Like that's a plan to come in and say, instead of the District of Tumbler Ridge ponying up $80,000 for childcare in Tumbler Ridge, that if we were able to increase it by whatever 15%, because we haven't increased enough in the previous years because it's ran by a board or whatnot, that plan is in place that we're going to ask if we can do it. Kind of a one-time thing.
Yeah, I would say so.
Okay.
I think it's part of the issue, so I think it would certainly be. I think part of the background is speaking about the maximum increase of 5%.
To me, it's just like just to get our head back above water, and then we can go along with the 5% increase at that time. But we're so far below water on wages at this point now that we'll never reach it at 5%. Look what inflation is doing. Inflation's 8 and 9%. How are we going to catch up when we're only able to increase by 5% and we're already underwater? So to me, I just want to make sure that is first and foremost a question that we want to get answered. And that even in a letter back to us, the fluff letter that we continuously get, that should be one that they can answer that question. Yes or no? Yeah, you can increase it one time by 25%, up to 25%, or whatever the number is, right? So,
Ms. Torval, was there any information brought back to council in regards to the minutes, the previous minutes? There was a bunch of questions council was looking for follow-up from the Children's Center.
No, there wasn't.
Okay. So, Councillor Howell.
yeah, and just one more on that. Do we have the statistics that we're able to get in front of the minister to explain what the wages are paid in Dawson, Chetman, Fort St. John, just so that we can prove to them? We don't have the numbers yet. I mean, that would, to me, would be important to have.
Yeah. I kind of have an issue with this one, to be honest. Like I see, if I was sitting in the ministry hearing this issue, the ministry doesn't take any responsibility for the board. The board of this society has been operating for multiple years. It's the responsibility of the board to manage their finances properly.
Yep.
As a nonprofit society.
Yep.
Because they have decided not to increase their fees for so many years, we're at a deficit point now. So why should the ministry take responsibility for the board's decision not to raise the prices? Councillor Kirkhope.
Yeah, like I think that's why our ask is that we're trying to assist. I mean, not to speak on behalf of Councillor Norbury, but I wasn't at the meeting. But now we have a child care task force. We have a member of council sitting on the board as a liaison. I mean, this to me is we gotta see if they can. Right now they're only allowed to do the 5%. That's all they're authorized through by the government. So as a board, they can't say, hey, listen, we realize we've, previous boards, whatever, I don't want to lay blame on any individual person. We didn't raise it when we should have and kept on raising our price of daycare. But now we're asking for a one-time, you use the number, up to 25%. Maybe when it comes back and they say, yeah, you know what, we realize you guys were never putting in, we'll allow you to go up anywhere between 30 and 5%. Now that's up to the board to say, okay, now if we crunch our numbers, we actually need to raise it 22.5% this year. If the government allows that, then that's what they should be doing. Again, they requested $80,000 from the District of Tumbler Ridge taxpayers. Their wants in the renovation list the other day was $70,000. Right? So to me, it's $160,000 is the not-for-profit daycare is asking for. So if we can assist by getting in front of a minister or staff saying, listen, we understand, miscommunication. Maybe they were trying to keep childcare in Tumbler Ridge at a reasonable rate because of whatever. They realized they were wrong. We need to be able to do this. How do we do an approval step here? Right? I mean, obviously, Councilor Norbury is going to be there. He sits as he lays on the board. He started up a task force. Now he can take that back and say, listen, looks like we're going to get approval for this. And then hopefully help them through what percent they should raise it to. I mean, we've heard from people, I've heard from parents that they're willing to pay double tomorrow. Just to have daycare. They're willing to pay double. I mean, I believe somewhere in the neighborhood, maybe I don't have children anymore in daycare, but I think some of those times it's like $550, $600 to go out for daycare. Some people are willing to pay $1,000.
You mentioned the $160,000 that the Children's Center is short this year in rentals and wages. That's the responsibility of their board. Why does all of a sudden that responsibility come back to the District of Tumbler Ridge? I'm really not in agreement with this for the irresponsibility of the society over the years to not manage their finances properly. Councillor Howe.
Yeah, the thing is we I didn't anyways, and maybe others did, but there wasn't a lot of involvement in council with the child care center. They were running their thing, they're chugging along, life's going great, and then all of a sudden we're in a crisis, comes back to council, we start asking the questions, we identify an issue. To me, where does your revenue come from? Oh, well, we can't raise it anymore because the government only let us raise it 5%, and we didn't do it for the previous 5 years. That's not our fault, 100%. That's not the government's fault. But the solution to fix it is we've got to get more. The parents of the children have to pay more money, not the residents of Tumbler Ridge. We pay $80,000 this year. We still don't go up by 5% the year after. We're paying $75,000 the year after. We're paying $65,000 the year after that. It does not get us back above water. And so to me, that, and I agree with you, like the minister said, well, it's not my problem. No, it's not, but we've identified it. We have a solution in mind here, and you go in, you give them the problem, here's the solution to it, and here's our proof to go along with it. I don't know, the wages in Tumbler Ridge are $19 an hour, and in this place over here, they're whatever, $25, $30 an hour, and we pay $500 a month, and they pay $900 a month. Prove to them this is the information, we have the facts, we need you, the minister or somebody in your department, to allow us a one-time thing to fix this, to get us above board, to get back on track. And that to me, if you go in with the problem, the solution, the evidence to go along with it, I think that would be the sell to them, to say, yeah, you know, we've never really done this or what, but obviously we have to in Tumbler Ridge.
Sure.
We don't get out with $80,000.
No.
We get out for 1 year,
Yeah.
and it continues a year after year after. You got to get the wages up.
Yeah, I completely agree with you.
Just to rebuttal.
Councillor Kirkhope.
Thank you, Worship. So just I threw out the 80,000, but it's actually $40,000 over 2 years. Right? It's not $80,000 in.
Sorry.
I just wanted to make,
Yeah.
just because I threw that out there, so
Sorry.
I wanted to say it is, they're asking us for 80, but it's $40,000
Same
over
concept.
2 years. It's same concept, but I just want to be sure it's clear. Sorry, that was my bad, right? So.
Councillor Majinski.
Thank you, Mayor. Do we have the amount of times in which years the increase went up to the 5%?
That's the information that we've requested for
So,
follow-up.
and my thought here is maybe because since Tumbler is a cyclical community, maybe in the time of downturn is when they didn't do these 5% raises. So, 2004 or whatever, right? They stopped. And then we were behind because the community's kind of slowing down. People are moving away. There wasn't a huge demand for the childcare like there is now. So maybe it's the demand and the production of the mines, right? So that could be another angle to shoot up the ministry for and say, you know what, we didn't these 5 years, we didn't put in 5%, so now we're down, 25%
Sure.
of where we should have been, so.
Sure. No, it's certainly a possibility, but I think one of the main factors or questions that we've asked that could answer a lot of these questions is why the 5% per year. And I think we've requested that from the Children's Center as part of the information to come back to council that we haven't received yet. So if we do get the clarification on that, I completely agree with you that we're bringing the problem, we've got the solution, but we still don't have the underlying question, and that's probably going to be part of our letter, our reply, is why the 5%. There's got to be some sort of a legislation in there to allow only for the 5%. So yeah, that's a key piece of information that we will need, I think. Councillor Mowbray.
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand. So I've asked the Children's Center from their side to also speak with the ministry about why they're restricted to 5%. I don't think at this point in time, looking to assign blame on your, previous directors made the decision, so you got to make your bed and lie in it. Well, that's fine to say, but who's actually the ones paying the cost? Our community, that we don't have childcare. It's, Councillor Howe, I think, made a good comment. Like, we need to focus on solutions, not finding blame, right? And we need to be looking at goals. And the goal is, how can we raise this issue with the ministry? Their mechanism is preventing us from getting us in alignment with how to pay proper wages. So the Children's Center is working on that, but we're asking a lot. Like, they don't have an executive director. They have 6 board members who are all working full time and parents. There's only so much that we can get out of them. So there's at some point I understand we want information, we want it in a timely manner, but we have to set our expectations that these people are very busy and they're doing their best they can to get us this information. But
Absolutely.
This ministry, they're the ones who are preventing this from happening. I've asked, what is the benefit to having this restriction over their head? could be the $4, $5 an hour in wages that they pay all their employees. That's a lot of money they're getting hourly, right? So it's, yeah.
Well, and we're speculating too, right? It's a possible solution that I was thinking of is this Children's Center Society folding and a new society starting up tomorrow. Set their own wages or set their rates to what it should be. Done deal. You don't have to go by the 5% anymore. That's a possible solution. Councillor Lehman.
Thank you, Mayor. So 5% is no different than the rental increase that a landlord is allowed to up, and they set that limit. And I think they do the same thing for this. It's just so they can control, so that, you know, you don't have a bunch of price gouging. So, yeah, you know, it's probably right, but, you know, they didn't raise, obviously, rates for a long period of time, but I think we gotta make sure that we have, you know, the cost for childcare compared to Dawson and Fort St. John, and also the pay rates, just so that they're able to see that, you know, we've done our homework, this is all the information that you need, so that they get the full package, not just, well, what's the difference between Tumbler and Dawson? If you don't have those answers, you're gonna look silly. So make sure you have those.
Councillor Majinski, did you have something? Councillor Hall.
Yeah, another thing I was thinking about, they used to do other things to get money as well, did they not? They used to have fundraisers for like Oktoberfest or something like that they did, or?
You had a Christmas dance.
Okay, and were any of those things affected by COVID? Not even, okay. So what about our district Tumbler Ridge COVID funding money that we've got sitting, looking for places to spend that money? Right, we've got, well, I think we've got still $400,000 or something in there that.
I'm not sure the amount at this point. Ms. Torval, are you aware?
I'm not, I don't know if Ms. Geese would know
Pardon me?
the amount of COVID funding we have left.
I'd
I
have
think
to
that's-
check, but I can.
No,
continue.
not right now. That's fine.
But
Councillor Hall.
regardless, if there is money there, I'm pretty sure we didn't spend it all up there, but, you know, that's a short-term solution for us to kind of get them some more money that, you know, we could go to the government and say, and we have some ideas, we're gonna do some things with the COVID funding, because they didn't get to do their fundraisers, or so we're gonna give them some of that money, but for the long-term solution, you know, the other part of it is maybe there's some discrepancy on the 5%, because is it something that every year you can increase it 5%, but if you don't increase it by 5% this year, can you do 10% next year? Or is that lost because you haven't done it? And we don't have the answers, and to me, is this better just to be a letter that we write to them rather than an ask? You know, we you know, compile our thoughts, and these are the things that we have, and go into them with a letter and ask them for the answers to this, rather than getting in front of the minister and going, yeah, like, you guys should know this, like, you can increase it by whatever percent, like, you know, maybe we don't need to get in front of the minister for this.
Yeah, and I think, you know, these topics and these issues, I think there's still opportunity to gather more information before we see them as well.
Sure.
So
Yeah, good point.
it's certainly an opportunity to try and gather as much data as possible before we go down there. Councillor Majinski, did you have something?
Yeah, just to follow up on the COVID funding. I don't know if that would pertain to a non-profit. I think it's just me.
Yeah, there was a bunch of stipulations, qualifications there. You'd have to double check those for sure. Okay, any other ministries? Ministry of Advanced Education and Training, I'm wondering if we should add in the issue number 2, the requests of to provide cohort programs on behalf of Tumbler Ridge. I wonder if there's an opportunity to try and promote Northern Lights College's empty campus here in town, and maybe if there's an opportunity for the ministry to work with Northern Lights to try and create some sort of a program in Tumbler Ridge. Councillor Norbury?
Yeah, that was kind of the hope, is like when we talked about cohorts, it'd be to offer it in Tumbler Ridge, yeah. It's a good idea to add that.
I'm not sure if they're aware of the lack of programming here in town at the campus, so it's certainly an opportunity to make them aware of that. know we've certainly tried to work with Northern Lights over the last few years to try and create or provide opportunities to create a program, and there hasn't been a lot of movement there. Is everyone satisfied with the issues and requests here? The Ministry of Advanced Education and Training? Councilor Noble?
The only comment I might make is on issue 3. Is food and beverage service, is that something that's under advanced education and training skills?
Not that I'm aware of.
Might be, we can tweak that a little bit, but aside from that, I think mechanics, skilled tradesmen is appropriate.
Any other comments, questions? Councilor Majewski?
Thank you, Mayor. I do have a comment on the Ministry of Advanced Education and Skills Training, and talking with, or we were discussing about Northern Lakes College, and they're looking at doing a framework for trades for out-of-province individuals that cannot work in BC as well, or out of country. So they're looking to do a whole new structure so that they can expedite Redfield or equivalent in other countries to get their training and certificates here transferred over. So that would fall under that. So maybe they're doing that in the healthcare system as well, but I didn't want to bring up them because it didn't really pertain. But in this sense, it might, and then they could actually utilize that and have it done here as well to help in our industries. So whether it's wind turbine or in the mines, so that is something that is ongoing right now with the Northern Lakes College in Dawson Creek.
Okay. All good with that ministry then? Is there any that we've missed? Ministry of Mental Health and Addictions. I think that's certainly an ongoing issue, and I'm happy with the request here. Comments, questions? Councilor Majewski?
It'd be interesting to see what they have for a response back, because a lot of this is going online now, and a lot of confidentiality, and it's a little bit easier, especially in a small community where if everybody knows who the counselor is, they can see them. But with everything going via Zoom or online, it's a little bit more separated, and I think maybe that's their response to this is going to be more virtual.
I think we've captured online support is not enough, as it did not meet the needs of all residents. We could certainly expand on that. Councillor Norbury?
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand. I think this is like an opportunity to provide feedback on their direction that they've been moving. And the feedback from our side is, we understand this is a great way for you to cut your costs, to broaden availability of mental health professionals. Realistically, though, it's not useful in terms of helping people overcome their issues. They need to see that eye-to-eye, face-to-face interaction. And I think it's just more of a feedback thing. Like, thanks for trying, but give us something, please. 1 day a week, 2 days a week, whatever you can give us, we'll take it. So 5 days, we'll go for 5.
Yeah. It's really not a matter of shared position. Thank you for that. I just remembered, I'm not sure if we're interested in a shared position. I don't think we should make mention of that. I think Tumbler Ridge has enough of its own issues to warrant a request for a counselor. So I think if we add in the shared position as well, I think it could be an opportunity to jump on that instead of trying to make a position wholly Tumbler Ridge. Thoughts? Just don't want to give them an opportunity to decrease the capacity in some way when we're trying to add. Any other comments, questions? Ministry of Transportation. Canosa Falls Road was recently worked on and quite a bit of gravel put onto the road. I haven't traveled it recently, but I have heard it's in much better shape than it was a month ago. I think it's really an ongoing topic to bring to the ministry that, you know, it is in the inventory now of the ministry. The road maintenance contractor is responsible for the road, but I'm really curious on how that contractor is sent to work on the road. Is it a request by the ministry, or is it in the work plan to just take care of it all year long? It's because, you know, in early spring I know residents come to us to complain about it, as well as visitors, and it'd be nice to know the process of how we go about getting repairs done on that road. Highway 52 North, the second issue, it's not just at the turnoff, it's throughout the whole road. It's in rough shape completely. So, you know, some of the ammunition that we used for 52 North was that almost the entire roadway is Dawson Creek watershed. We have multiple dangerous goods traveling that road to service the mines, diesel fuel as well as explosives. And if any one of those loads went off the road, it's directly impacting Dawson Creek watershed. So that's sort of a spin-off impact seemed to have gotten more attention. Just please fix our road. So that's something to keep in mind when speaking with them. As well as issue 3, I think this is a really growing issue, especially with all the wildlife protection policies put in place recently. The ditchways have really grown in, and it is incredibly hard to see an animal in multiple places on that highway. With the increased population of large animals, we certainly don't want to affect the safety of travel on that road, and the trees and the willows alongside the highway have grown to a point where it is affecting safety. You know, a month ago I was traveling at 9 o'clock at night. It counted 22 large animals alongside the highway. Luckily they stayed alongside the highway, but it was very difficult to see them. So I don't know, you know, speaking with Argo and the ministry in years past, this type of a large cut back to the tree line was a special project approximately 10 years ago. It's not in a regular maintenance aspect that Argo would be taking care of every year. So I think this is something that we should bring to their attention that needs attention. We need to be able to see these animals before they get to the highways. Thoughts, questions? Councillor Majinski?
I agree, Mayor. The other thing is even just the shoulders of the roads. When is their time frame to actually cut down the growth on just the shoulders alone? Because the deer are just as tall as that now, and I almost hit one the other day. So be interested to know what their expected time frame to do that is. Could be fall. Half those are gonna be dead before they get mowed down. So
yeah, I agree. Usually it's the end of July, beginning of August, from what I recall. They usually only get one cut in a year and kind of split it halfway so that it doesn't grow to the point it is now, but they're certainly late on this one, so I'm not exactly sure. As well as the lines, the road lines need to be painted as well. A lot of spots are missing the white shoulder line. Councillor Howe?
I don't disagree with the repairs to the road to Dawson Creek. Also repaving, finishing up Highway 29 out by Stony Lake there. Getting that 36 kilometers of gravel paved, I think, is important. My only problem with asking them about clearing the brush back is line of progression. Have we actually put a request in to our local area to ask if we can get this done? If that's been done and we're not getting any work done on it, then it makes sense to go to the ministry. But for us to immediately jump over top of the local folks to ask them how can we get this done and what's the progression, I don't think we've done that, because this is the first thing I've ever heard of us discussing it. Correct me if I'm wrong, maybe they don't want to do it, but I don't think that this is a topic to bring directly to the ministry yet, if we haven't gone through the lines of progression to voice our concern.
Yeah, I do recall last year during the minister meetings, we did bring it up, as well as the meeting with Argo, just inquiring how, if it is on the regular maintenance program. I believe Councillor Krakalka, you were with me at that time. They had mentioned where, the regular cut alongside the shoulder is within the maintenance program, but the extended cut to the tree line was a special project many years ago. So Argo had mentioned that if we would be looking for that extra cut, that it would be kind of a special project or a special request to the ministry. So I certainly understand your concern jumping over top of Argo there, but I think it was presented to us that it would have to be a special project through the ministry. Councillor Howell?
Yeah, and maybe not even Argo, but maybe just to send a letter to whoever is in charge of Argo's contract, just to say, hey, listen, this is something that we would like to get done. Can we get this done? Like, to me, talking about it and having a conversation in passing is not the same thing as an email. In an email, you pin somebody down, you ask the question, you get the answer, it's written down, you can follow it, right? So to me, maybe that's, I don't know, to me, I think that we should, I'm not saying go to Argo and ask them if they can do this. I'm saying, who's the person between Argo and the government, and between Argo and the minister? There's gotta be 2 or 3 different levels of people in there, like a regional supervisor or something like that, to see how do we get this going. And to me, I don't think this is should go directly to the minister. Just my 2 cents.
Any other thoughts, comments, questions? Are we happy with all the issues here and background? These briefing notes are really just an opportunity to get thoughts down on paper for the deputy mayor to speak with the minister or staffers with. So if there's any more ammunition that we need to add here, please feel free. And Ms. Torval, these briefing notes, will they be sent to the ministers in our request, or just the request with topics, right?
Just a request with the topics for now. It used to be that we would submit briefing notes, but like physically, but now everything is done online and submissions are done online. If there are opportunities to submit the briefing notes, then we will, but if not, then it will just be through online.
Yeah, I think it would be better just to mention the topics, keep the briefing notes to ourselves, possibly. Councillor Norby.
Thank you, Bertrand. Can we quickly go back to the Ministry of Health for a moment?
Yes.
So page 12. Not everyone has their email open on a laptop like I do, but Councillor Howe did send out an email regarding one of the topics we were talking about, like the out-of-province credentials for medical professionals. It does appear, thank you, Councillor Howe, that the BC's already has this process started. So rather than give them an easy layup to say, oh great, you brought this up, by the way, we have a thing, maybe we can ask them like what's actually happened with it. How many people have gone through the process? How is it working? Ask them for more information on the system as it stands to get them thinking, okay, it's out there. Now we need to make sure that we're actually seeing results from it. Hold them accountable to it, right?
Quantifiable results.
Yeah, so yeah. Rather than give them a layup, let's keep them honest.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, any other topics, questions? Just had Ministry of Citizen Services left. Everyone happy with that? Okay. All right, moving on. 5.2, council and staff priorities discussion. Move for discussion, seconder. Councilor Majinski, all in favor? Opposed? So thank you, Ms. Torval, for the updates and the list here. Quite a few things have been completed. Councillor Howell.
I got just two questions here. First one is on the water reservoir exterior insulation. It says it's on hold. Is there a reason why it's on hold?
Ms. Torval.
Yes, thank you, council. At the last meeting, it was, the question was asked if it was really necessary. And I had reached out to the engineers and that I have retained for this particular project. And he is going to be sending me a letter or a report. He feels that it isn't necessary to have the insulation or whatever it was around on the reservoir. I found some information from the files, and there hasn't been, between 1997 and 2006, the insulation was taken off the reservoir, and it's been off ever since. So, and he feels that because it's been 15, 16 years, he doesn't feel that there's anything compromised integrity of the reservoir. There is no, he said it's just a nice to have, but not necessary. And I did ask him for it in writing on their company letterhead so that we're covered here. So
And that was after a visual inspection?
yes. After a visual inspection, and then he consulted a number of his co-workers who specialize in water reservoirs, those types of engineers. I don't know what they're called.
Okay.
Yeah.
Councilor Majinski.
Thank you, Mayor. And I was the one that brought that question up because I wanted to have a proper engineer report done. And I think that was well worked, and I thank staff for reaching out and getting that information. And that was actually quite quick too, because that was 2 meetings ago, I think I asked that. So to turn around to have somebody come in and inspect it and have it done, and not have to spend, I can't even remember how much it was, to get this re-insulated and done, because it had to be done this year, which I was very skeptical on having that getting done in this time frame as well. So I thank staff for that one.
Councilor Howell.
Yeah, it seems like a bit of a hangover from the previous director. Rural Residential Development Saddle Club on hold. I think I know why it's on hold. I'd just like to hear it from staff.
Ms. Torval.
This is the one we're waiting on the First Nations consultation. Barry? Oh, sorry. Is that the saddle?
Yeah. So I just have to follow what you've done.
Saddle Club, please.
Saddle club, yeah.
That's what it is, still the Blueberry decision?
Yes, yeah. I haven't heard otherwise. There hasn't been anything, no notification as to anything that's been moving on that, so.
Councilor.
So just for clarity, the Blueberry issue is resolved at this point, but we're waiting to hear back from the government if we are going to be allowed to purchase it, or if we also need to do a consultation with First Nations before we purchase it. I'm not, like, who are we waiting on? Are we waiting on the government to get back to us? Because that could happen, that could be forever. Should we be sending out an email to say, where are we at with it? That's what my question is are we following up on it, or just waiting for them to get back to us?
Ms. Torval.
I'm not 100% sure on the process, but if council wishes, we can certainly follow up and see, just for an update at least, and see where things stand.
Wasn't this holdup with the Saddle Club to do with the community forest tenure? Or the realignment of the community forest, and that had to take place before the land transfer could take place? Councilor Norbury?
The ministry and the community forest are entangled in this issue too, that's for sure. I know Duncan and us at the community forest have brought this up with the Ministry of of forest multiple times. Take this out of our management plan, deal with it, or deal with our expansion. But they won't do it separately. They want to do it sequentially. So we've already asked for a management plan before the district applied to purchase. So they're just going through the proper steps. I wouldn't say proper steps, but they're going through their procedure, and they are not willing to budge on. Do it at the same time. Just pull this out, sell it off. The community forest is trying to advocate for this movement as well, and the ministry is just their government. Like, that's too bad.
From what I understand, the process was the community forest is looking to expand their boundaries.
Yep.
Saddle Club area was part of that. So we're waiting on that decision for that approval, and then we need to make an amendment to that cut plan in order to allow us to buy. That's what I understood, Ms. Torval.
I am not 100% sure on that one. I don't know if Ms. Finnegan is aware of any of the history.
Council and Mayor, I've gone through quite a bit of the past emails and documentation. The last email that I can find to the ministry was in 2021, so definitely well worth. Good to know about. I didn't know about that entanglement with the community forest. So it's well worth another conversation with community forest, and even an opportunity for me to follow up now, being new in the chair, just to say, can you update us? It's a good opportunity to, start the conversation again and make sure it hasn't got stuck somewhere.
And the fallout from the Blueberry decision is really just delayed the land transfers for that 6-month period while they worked out the negotiations there. So it's certainly not directly related to the Blueberry decision, but it's just the delay in all of that that's delaying everything else. So I do recall the community forest being an issue. Councillor.
Just a point of clarification, we're not asking for that. The community forest is not asking for that parcel of land. That is currently in the community forest inventory.
Gotcha.
So if it was just a matter of cutting off a little polygon and saying we don't want this, I can't see that. Should be simple, but never is. No, but it's just a matter of the ministry not willing to do two things at once. They only want to do one thing at a time. This is in front of us, then this, and this. And our advocacy point has been, Tumble Ridge wants to purchase this. Let's just deal with it at the same time as our management plan, but they want to deal with the management plan first. So, but anyways, yeah.
Councillor Hall.
Now, if our last correspondence was 2021, I think it was well overdue for us to get in, get going
An
on
update.
and find out where we're at with it and get an update for council.
Absolutely. Councillor Norby.
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand. So back to the water infrastructure, like this is a strategic priority, but some of the information we are given regarding why this is a strategic priority, I don't think we have a business case. We talk about rationale why we should be doing these things. As far as I know, the only issue was that we need, or we could need, insulation around the reservoir, but we're also told that this is an issue for fire readiness. I haven't heard that from our fire department. Also, we're worried about our water quality. I haven't heard that from our professionals as well. I've just heard it from a couple of individuals without any reports or investigations. I just like clarity on, are these reports available to us? Is there sound evidence if this is a priority?
Ms. Torval, is there any assessment reports in regards to our water system?
To date, like,
Current, like anything new?
there hasn't been anything new that I'm aware of. I don't know if my public works team can come up with something. But you're aware of everything is okay. Okay.
Councillor Norby.
Thank you, Mayor Bertrand. I apologize. I'm not trying to put anybody on the spot. It's just, this is information we were told, and I just want to know what's the truth behind it. And, there's no one in the room here that has given us information about this. It's just, if this is a priority, well, we need to have evidence behind us on what our plan is, not just water infrastructure,
I agree.
because we don't have an issue.
Well,
we have a project. We have a project, and we have a singular project of insulating our reservoir.
well, maybe it's time to request a full-on assessment too. I don't know if it's ever been done. Ms. Torval, are you aware if an assessment's ever been done on our water system?
I am not aware. Can't say for sure, not to say with certainty, but it's something we can certainly look into.
Councillor
I
Howell?
think they have a yearly report that they have to submit. I remember seeing that a couple of different
Yeah,
times
that-
in here. And that they gotta go over the water quality and the pressures and the pumps and the valves and all that stuff. So yearly, there's some report that is done. And that's where something was identified with the pump house that was rectified through that report. The pump was bad or something along those lines. But it's done yearly, and I would think that if there's an issue, their staff is gonna bring that forward to us, right? The whole point of water even being on this was brought forward that somebody thought that the insulation came off and it had been off for 2 years and it was gonna freeze and we're gonna have all these issues with it, where it was discussed lots in here that, no, that insulation's been off for many years. And those was discredited in here, but proof is in the pudding.
Councillor Majinski?
Yeah, and just to follow up with the water quality, I think they'd be testing on that quite often, so if there was concerns, they would have been brought up and rectified right away.
Yeah, I certainly don't have any issues with the quality of water. I'm more concerned about the infrastructure, the valves, the check valves, you know. I thought there was a mock shutdown done within the last year that identified some issues with some valves possibly, so it would be nice to have that information in front of council so we're not here guessing and going on misinformation as well. Councilor Majinski?
And I think there was some claims of sediment at the bottom as well, but that can be.
Of the water reservoir?
Yeah.
The last page here, 22, Ms. Torval, is this the council priorities that this looks familiar from last year. Is this last year's priority list or is this?
Sorry, that's this year's. So we met in January and then council met again in March. And then it was on your agenda a couple weeks ago and you asked for staff to come forward and trying to coordinate something with staff. And I thought, okay, well, I'll put this on and I would also bring forward the capital and special projects, which, because some of those are kind of overlay. There's some overlay there. So just to show you what's been completed from the capital and special projects, and if council wants something else, you can certainly request or question or find out, follow up with.
Okay.
So,
And I seen in the minutes, council had requested a strategic priorities workshop to be planned with staff. Are
Yeah.
we still planning to do that or?
this is pretty much it for tonight, because we are getting close to the end of the term. And we do have a lot of some of the items that are on here are covered off in this capital and special projects. So if council wants to discuss anything, staff is here for you to do that.
Councillor Howell?
Yeah, I see the hotel tax thing is at the bottom of that on page 22 there. Have we looked into that any further, or has there been any discussion about trying to put that in place or implement that? The original discussion was if we could generate $30,000 or $40,000 or $50,000 from an additional hotel tax that we could then take and then give to Geopark for funding or the museum for funding, it would reduce the amount of taxes paid by the taxpayers.
Absolutely.
Have you followed that up at all, or is that?
Ms. Torval?
So Ms. Finnegan can provide an update on that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So my understanding, just with catching up on some of that paperwork, it is on the tourism strategy. It's on my work plan to have a look at it. I understand in the last minutes for the Tourism Advisory or Action Committee, that was on their last minutes, and it was, I think, at the end of TAC that was where the conversation landed up. Having the first tourism roundtable this coming Friday with 7 or 8 businesses and interested people, some from the old tourism committee, just to regroup and put those priorities back on the table. So it's definitely been talked about and it's floating to the top, so I'll be able to give an update following our meeting on Friday.
Yeah, I think this certainly needs to move up the list. I think that's definitely it's well practiced. It's almost in every community, and it's used for these types of grants as well. So it certainly is a hot topic that I think needs to come into fruition. Councilor Majinski?
Mayor, just a question on the pedestrian overpass. What does that regard?
I think that was talking about an idea of an overpass over the bypass road to access the downhill trails. I kind of like the gondola idea myself.
So would that need to be on here, or should that be on here on a later date once the trails are actually established, the tenure is finalized? Like this could be probably 5 years out from now. If you want this, I'll be on here for the next council. It probably doesn't need to be on until then, you know?
I don't think so.
Just
I think it's certainly a wish list for sure.
just in the future. And
Something to think about, yeah. It really comes down to the highway safety, and you know, we haven't met with the TRNBA for a while, so we haven't really heard their progress or their plans for developing not just the ridge, but access to the ridge and from the ridge. So it was certainly a concern of highway safety there. Councillor?
And then signpost is on here. Is that still ongoing, or has that been
Good question.
put on hold or to bed?
It's been put on hold. Hasn't been a lot of movement on that end. But I think we certainly can revisit it again. I think we were waiting for feedback from a couple of nations still, I believe. I think we only heard from 2 nations. Yeah, I'll need to follow up on that. Same as the mask repatriation. We haven't met in that regard for quite a while. Last meeting, the museum and I'm not sure which nation, but they were looking into a climate controlled case for it. I met with Kelly Lake Cree Nation. They were in support of keeping the mask in Tumbler Ridge. They didn't agree with trying to locate it in a central location for everyone to see. They did feel it necessary to be in the area that it was found. And they also were open to replicas being made for the other nations if they were interested. So there's a lot of contentious issues in regards to this mask. It's somewhat claimed by every nation in some regard. But there's no doubt there's cultural significance within it, and it needs to be protected properly wherever it may end up. Councillor Majinski.
And just on that, is it still on display in the community center?
Correct. Councillor Howe.
So I'm looking at building envelopes, and I see that the museum has made its way onto the building envelopes. I don't think it should be on there. I think it should be removed. I don't know if that's a continuation of the hangover or what, but the museum was never ever looked at for the building envelope. Never. We never did a report on it. It was never part of the consultation with the community. So to me, I think it should be removed so that next council doesn't come in thinking that it was also needing to be done. Because as far as I can tell, TRE looks pretty fine. They're doing okay down there. I don't know why we're doing the building envelope on our building, but the roof needed to be fixed. That's not the envelope, right? So
True.
I think it should be removed.
Has the roof been repaired, Ms. Torwell?
I don't believe so.
According to Mr. Curry, no.
That was part of the capital project, I believe, when the museum was shut down for repairs. I think that was included in the capital repairs for it, wasn't it?
I think so.
Councillor Pakalka.
I believe there was some stuff, maybe staff clarified, but I believe there's still another report to come to close in regards to the museum. I believe there were some concerns, done an inspection. I think, yeah, I think it's gonna get, I think we're gonna close the.
Part of that, because that was quite a substantial hit.
I thought the roof had been moved forward to get replaced over the last 2 years. I'm sure we've proved that. But anyways, any other comments, questions, and Councillor Lehman?
Thank you. Just BC housing, I mean, what's going on with the co-op housing? We still have, it was supposed to be, most of them were supposed to be torn down a year or two ago and nothing's been done. I'm just wondering what's to become of that.
Request for delegation maybe might be in order. Councillor Kirkowka.
Yeah, I think we should be meeting in front of them, but we should also try to figure out a way of doing some background work preview to them coming in as well. Whether we contact Rose Snyder, or she's retired, so maybe. But finding out what the need for those are. It's amazing the need. Once you hear there's going to be, they're going to tear them down. The amount of people that are in need for those units, and you hear from over there. So to me, again, I brought it up when BC Housing was here last time. Where are you guys advertising this? That you have BC Housing here within the district of Tumble. To me, their counterparts that work up mainly out of Chatwin in regards to family assistance is unaware of them either, because they're not even letting their clients know that there's BC Housing within the district of Tumble. Maybe that was 10 years ago, I'm not sure. But, I've talked to quite a few residents that have been here for quite a few years that are, in the low income family bracket, and they weren't even told about it. I mean, I understand now they may not be able to be used, but maybe this is where we say, like, let's renovate them. He said if there was ever a need, they'd come back and build. We're going to tear them down, let's build them. So,
I think we certainly need an update at least. I don't believe the demolition has taken place, Ms. Torval.
Thank you, Council. Just on that note, BC Housing, I have been reaching out to them for updates to get them to come in, and because I've had questions myself that I would like to have answered, but I'm not getting any response from them. The one person that I was emailing, the administrative assistant in the office, her email bounces back to me. It's not there, and this is since COVID, so I don't know if they're. You would think if they were working from home remotely that there'd be some forwarding of some kind, but there hasn't been anything, and I haven't been able to locate the gentleman that came as a delegation from BC Housing. I haven't been able to track him down either, so. But they're still paying all their taxes on that property down there.
we don't want to own it.
Okay, so we need a new contact then. I believe Emily Bernier is critic for housing, so we could probably reach out to him, find out. Any other questions, comments? Any other priorities come to mind? Councillor Kirkowka.
Yeah, and if I may, and maybe we can't get the answer tonight, but even if we just get a reply back, what the cost of the encroachment enforcement project was. If you know what the cost of that was in our budget.
Ms. Torval.
Bernie, would you happen to know?
I'll talk if you like.
Okay.
Apologies, Mayor and Council, my voice is a little bit raw tonight. I would just like to see clarity on what we're looking at for costs. Is it just for the actual contractor, or are you looking at cost of the entire projects as it pertains? And the only reason why I ask that is the project is still ongoing, it hasn't completed yet.
Councillor.
Yeah, I was looking at the budget amount that we set.
The budget amount was $75,000.
I thought that's what it was. That's all I have questions.
Okay. Just a question on that encroachment, Ms. Torval. Wasn't the commissioner supposed to be from out of town? I thought it was proposed to council to bring a commissioner from out of town because it would be more unbiased in regards to any confrontation with any landowners. I do believe the commissioner is from town, so I'm curious how that all happened.
I'll ask Mr. Curry since he was in charge of that project.
Thank you.
Mayor and council, so the commissioner was originally proposed to be from out of town. They could not find anybody outside of town that actually applied for the position. So they chose to hire from within town. As we did not, as part of the contract, it wasn't defined that it had to be somebody from outside of town. I can tell you to date that the commissioner received training in conflict resolution, dealing with people on the cusp that we were going to get some not so happy people about encroachment. By and large, it has actually been overwhelmingly positive, the feedback that she's getting from the public that's going through there. We've got a considerable amount of properties that are going through the lot expansion process, and people are just happy that we're looking at it on both sides. Even the people that had concerns about encroachment are happy that they're given the option to it. The people that had concerns that are the neighbors are happy that something's being dealt with. So.
And Ms. Torval, what kind of timeline are we working with? Is this supposed to be completed by the end of the year or the end of the summer? Or?
So the Mayor Council, the contract for the commissioner will run out at the end of September, at such time that bylaw will take over whatever remaining files are left open to ensure that any leftover situations are rectified going through as per policy. So by and large, everything else has been working on right now. We've sent out letters. We've gotten really good feedback, as I said, and then we'll have some hangover probably into 2023 for the major ones where the people are unwilling to abide by our encroachment policy.
Okay. And so by the end of September with the commissioners, Ms. Torval, is this assuming that we are going to be able to canvass the entire town or take stock on the entire town by that time? Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct, and I can have Chief Curry confirm that.
So the Mayor and Council, the intention of the project wasn't to deal with neighbor to neighbor. It was neighbor to either Crown land, or from property owner to Crown land or district property. So we've done a significant amount, I'd say probably in the 90 percentile of any district owned property that, district private property abutting district property across the entire town to date.
Okay.
So we have a few projects out at the heavy industrial park and then the commercial park, I believe the last two kind of target areas where we have to take a harder look at.
Thank you. Councilor Majinski.
Thank you, Mayor. Sorry to ask all these questions that are not really on the topic of it, but neighbor to neighbor, if these are conflicts, would they just have to go to a town hall to dispute them, or is it complaint driven based, or because the commissioner is probably not going to be looking at where the property lines are in that regards, or if there's encroachment on backing green spaces of two properties, like if there's like a wedge in between two properties and they're kind of encroaching into some green space but onto somebody else's property. Has that been addressed or brought up, or is it any concerns?
Ms. Torval.
Thank you, Council. I believe that would be a civil matter, so that would be between the neighbors. Yeah.
So bylaw wouldn't have any authority whatsoever?
I don't think so, no.
Okay, thank you. Councilor.
And then one more question. So say there is an encroachment, what is the time frame for an individual to enact on moving their stuff? Do they have a set amount of months or weeks or days, or?
Ms. Torval.
I believe it is 30 days, but again, I'll ask Chief Curry to confirm.
Mayor and Council, that is correct. So as per policy, district policy of 30 days once receipt of a letter, an official letter from the district to remove said chattel off of district property.
Okay. Councilor.
Thank you for that, because I actually had that question asked to me and I didn't know, so appreciate that.
Yeah, and if we could just go back to the previous question, you'd mentioned the civil matter if it's property to property. I have had residents come to me with complaints in that regard. Can we kind of lay out the process in that regard for them? Just to have a better understanding as well as myself, how that dispute can be resolved.
Okay. Chief, would you like to
Sure.
respond?
Mayor and council, so the question had to do with encroachment, and that is where you have two parties that are encroaching one onto each other. Use the example of a fence. So if somebody builds on my property or I build on someone else's property, that becomes a civil matter. Where the district can be involved is in other issues, such as noise complaints, neighbor to neighbor. If you had somebody that was throwing grass on one side or parking on one side, things like that, the district has the ability to intervene in those situations. And largely, we're just mediating. There's nothing really that says we can't ticket somebody for parking on your neighbor's property. We act as more of a mediator in that terms, where we're the common thread. Neighbor doesn't talk to neighbor because it's uncivilized, so they'll talk to the bylaw officer, and we kind of act as the go-between. If it does become a civil matter, we refer the matter typically to the RCMP and or through the dispute resolution process through the BC court system out of Prince George. So you file a claim through usually small claims court, etc., and then go through the judicial system either when it comes to Tumbler Ridge or in Dawson Creek.
Thank you. Okay, any other questions, concerns in regards to the priorities or any other priorities that come to mind? Councillor Lehman, sorry, did you have something? Councillor Majinski.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a question on the RFPs that are currently out. Are they expected to be started and completed this year?
Ms. Torval.
Thank you, Council. They are expected to be started this year. The RFPs are, one of them was just released today, and the other one is being released by the end of day tomorrow, so I'm told, and which I believe it is it to be so. They had a lot of homework to do before they were able to prepare those RFPs and put them out. So we're expecting that the projects will be started this year, out the door at least, and there may be some, but we're not 100% sure.
Which RFP went out today and which one goes tomorrow?
The golf course road went out today.
Today?
Yeah. And the sidewalks will be going out tomorrow, barring anything that's unforeseen.
Okay. And so Flatbed Creek campground erosion RFP?
That one will probably be carried over. There's a few things that need to be clarified on that. That one was there was a lot of uncertainties around that one, and a lot of involvement with other people, so, and engineers and all sorts of things. So, and we can get, there is a grant that was approved for that, and we can get the extension for next year. Already reached out, and I even have, they sent the paperwork, and it's all fine. They understand the situation.
Councillor Kirkcalker.
Thank you, Worship. Just made some feedback from staff in regards to the ice plant, and if we're looking like we're going to be on schedule in regards to ice going into the area.
Ms. Torval.
Yes, Council, and I guess I can say that it is on schedule, and the ice will be going in. I'll ask Ms. Notley.
It's August 20th.
August the 20th, the ice will be in.
Completed by August 20th? Yeah. Councillor Howe.
Not to belabor the point, but it's supposed to be August 15th. So how do we get that in place so that that's never lost in translation? Like we agreed that we were going to shoot for August 15th. I don't know if it was a motion. I'm pretty sure it was a motion that was laid out. So not that 5 days is a huge delay, but how do we fix that? How do we just make sure that we hit those timelines?
Ms. Torval.
I think this year is, I'm aware of the August 15th deadline for the ice. So I think this year is because of the ammonia plant and the construction that was going on in there. So there's a few days that were a little bit delayed there, so, yeah.
Any other comments, questions? Councillor Lehman.
Thank you, Mayor. Just, I know we can't discuss it, but are we getting anywhere on the resolution of our legal issues?
Ms. Torval?
Yes. That's about all I can say.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions? Any ETA on the IT upgrades, Ms. Torval?
For the chamber?
Chambers, everything that's planned for IT, computer server?
Yeah, the computer server replacement, that's complete. I don't know how I managed to put in progress there, but that is complete. The IT, the audio video for the council chambers, I believe there's a date of end of September or October? October, yeah. It's just supply and everything else.
Oh, yeah.
The community center, Ms. Notley? The IT for the community center? Sound?
Yeah, we're just waiting on people.
Just waiting on cable?
And so what are we planning for the community center, sorry, Ms. Torval?
There was IT for the community center, for the sound system over there, so
Was that for the pool or was that for the whole building?
Ms. Notley, is that one for the whole building?
For the pool? Okay, any other comments, questions, concerns? Okay, motion to adjourn, recommendation please, Councillor Kukalka, Councillor Lehman, all in favor? Opposed? Carried, thank you. Thank you very much, staff. Welcome, Mr. Bradley.
I had someone tell me they were gonna go squat in the BC housing buildings on Chamberlain. I'm like, don't tell me that.
Hey Jay, do you know everybody up here and everybody on staff? Have you been introduced to everybody yet?
This is the only one I didn't know.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, never met this man in my life. Outbenched him a few times, just saying.
I used to press him too.
61 isn't that much.
Still remember, you know, I'm telling you, like, no man, you can do 2 plates. You can do it. You can do it.
And this was taken care of.
I remember the look on your face. Yeah, can.
This
All the
came
time.
off.